Hey, another VO podcast listeners. It's Jake here with Troy Alden and, of course, our guy in the field, Charles the Voice Coates. We just wanted to pop on this episode before we get into it and just say we hope you guys have a happy holidays or a Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy... What's the Jewish one? Hanukkah. That's right. I'm so sorry. My mind blanked right there. If you're Jewish, I apologize. But yeah, happy Hanukkah. Happy all the holidays, guys. Did you guys have anything you want to say to listeners before we get into Michael's episode?
Yeah, I hope you're just sitting around enjoying your favorite Christmas cookies or holiday treats, whatever you enjoy. And thank you for listening.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks for hanging with us all year. We look forward to next year. Hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday. And yeah, we'll be back.
What about you, Charles?
You know, just happy holidays. Just remember to reach out to people you maybe haven't reached out to. Think of people that have less than you have this year, and that we are all truly blessed in every way. So happy holidays and happy New Year, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you guys for doing this with me. And yeah, from the crew over here at another VO podcast, happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Love our listeners.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Hello, and welcome to another VO podcast.
Don't do that.
This is gross.
If you feel like a grape and you only have raisins,
Don't do that.
you have two nostrils.
This
Okay.
wins
All
the
right.
most disgusting episode so far.
It's something that I still do, and I still do it and love it.
Don't do that.
Look, awards are great. Some are obviously more prestigious than others.
This month, coming up right here on this podcast.
Speaking of things that you may not want to know,
Come sit in somebody's lap.
Don't do that.
People know I hire talent sometimes, so I get 500 business cards at the conference too. Guess what? They stay in the room when I leave.
They wanted a British accent,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
and I don't have any samples with a British accent. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another VO podcast.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another VO podcast. We're continuing our list of guests that we're interviewing all the way through the holiday season. And actually, it sounds like we're going to go into the new year quite a bit. So I'm excited for all the guests we've already had and the ones coming up. Jake, Troy, how you guys doing?
doing pretty good, man.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
morning. Good
Yeah.
Are you
morning.
excited to have Michael today?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Why
Yes,
wouldn't
sir.
I be?
Yeah. Well, today our special guest is Michael Kussmann. I'm saying that right, I hope. Michael Kussmann. And I think this is our first out of the U.S. guest.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Where are you
Yeah, I
at?
think so.
I believe that's right. So
Yes.
Michael is in, I'll let you say where you're from, Michael.
Oh, okay, yes. I'm about 20 minutes outside of Toronto, so just up north here,
okay.
guys, in Canada.
Sweet.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's always nice because anytime I bill a U.S. client, no taxes.
That's
Oh,
what's up.
yeah. Now, are you on north, south, or what of Toronto?
I'm just a little bit east of Toronto,
East,
in a little city
okay.
called Burlington.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The coat
I used
factory.
to, yeah, Burlington Coat Factory.
Sorry,
Yeah.
right.
Now, I used to travel up that way quite a bit. I had I worked for a company that was headquartered in Penetanguishene, and
Interesting.
up there on the lake, beautiful country up there. And there were times I would have to fly into Buffalo and drive up. Beautiful drive, but I always enjoyed coming up there. I'll never forget my first experience at a Tim Hortons. I went in, had landed late at night at the airport. I thought I'm going to fall asleep. I got another hour to drive. And I stop at a Tim Hortons and I tell the guy what I wanted in my coffee. And he turned around and started yelling something about dubba something. I had no clue what he was saying.
Double.
Yeah, so I guess I got double sweetener, double cream, or whatever. And he's like, yeah, medium coffee, dubba. You know, I'm like, okay.
That's like
That's
the old
Canadian
SNL skit.
staple there. 2 cream, 2 sugar. Call it a
Yeah.
double.
Yeah, I learned that one real quick. So, but beautiful country.
Well, Michael's been in voiceover for a while, and I'm going to let him tell his own story. But before we get into that, I have a really, really important question. And I need to know because a lot of Americans say this incorrectly. Is it Canada Goose or Canadian Goose?
It's got to be Canada Goose.
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
It is Canada Goose.
Indeed. Well, I'm thinking of the brand Canada Goose.
Yeah. Well, the bird is a Canada goose too. It's not a Canadian goose. It's not a card-carrying resident of Canada.
Correct.
What if it was a different type of goose from Canada? Would it then be a Canadian goose?
That's a good question. Would it be crossing the border illegally in that case?
Right.
All I can think of is somebody getting goosed. You know, yeah, or somebody grabs you in the side, and I'm thinking that's a Canadian goose.
Yeah, right.
Or a
Don't mess
Texas
around with
goose
those things, guys. If you see them, those things.
Yeah, who's standing behind you?
Definitely not.
Well, they're no joke.
Where's the person standing behind you? Yes, that's true. They will come after you.
Oh yeah,
they will come after you. I watched a disc golf because Jake and I are big into disc golf. Mm-hmm. I watched a disc golf tournament that was at a park right next to a park where they had all kinds of geese that populated the lake around there. And a disc went into where those geese were. And they would not let the owner of that disc come retrieve it.
Yeah, wow.
Chasing him away.
Sounds
Anyway, that's fun. Canada Goose, you are correct. And so you move on to round two. Anyway, Michael, you do a lot of stuff besides just voiceover, and I'm going to let you get into that. But first of all, talk to us about your unique path into getting to voiceover, because it's different from Jake, Troy, and I.
Everybody seems to have their own unique path and how they stumbled into this wonderful world of voiceover.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm going to try and keep this not too long-winded, but I went to university just for kind of a general communications degree, during which time I did a couple courses in broadcast. I got to kind of see the ins and outs of, let's call it a studio setup, what that looked like, how audio was recorded, how video was captured. And after university, I didn't really jump, I definitely didn't jump right into voiceover. I was a teacher, actually. I went back and did a year of teacher's college. I taught high school for 4 years.
Whoa.
Loved it, enjoyed it, yes. And, but was missing that creative, there was a bit of a creative void, in my life that all of us VOs, seem to have and have the need to satisfy. Mm-hmm. And anyways, I was, during my time in university, I was actually a live announcer at a theater. Yeah. And what I did was I emceed events that happened actually just outside the theater in the town square. Uh-huh. And then during performances at the theater, I was actually doing some live announcing.
Really?
Yes. And I'm going to call that my official intro into voiceover.
Sure.
And then sure enough, somebody in the city was like, hey, you have a really great voice. Do you think you could record the voicemail, messaging for the entire city?
Oh,
and I was like, I was like, oh my God. Like, they just had it kind of general, somebody, just doing their thing. And I was like, I'd be honored. And I tell you, during that, I'm going to call it that session, I never had so much fun at work.
Yeah.
And recording, bland voicemails all day.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling Alden yesterday too, it still hadn't clicked into me that voiceover was like, a thing, a career. Mm-hmm. And then one day I was driving home and I just heard this thunderous imaging voice coming across on one of the stations here in Toronto, Kiss FM. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, that's when it clued into me that, hey, this is somebody somewhere recording this, not on camera, just with a microphone. And now, some stuff has happened to it. It's got all these effects, sound effects, vocal effects. It's been heavily processed, and now it's rumbling through my speakers, going right through my soul.
Yeah.
And since then, I became obsessed with radio imaging. And I didn't stumble into voiceover as the conversational guy next door. I stumbled into voiceover as, announcer voice, heavily processed. And
The fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for
then,
sure.
sure enough, I was introduced to the wide, umbrella of voiceover and, different types of reads. E-learnings, my teaching background lent itself nicely to e-learning reads.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I felt very natural with explaining things.
Mhm.
So I did a lot of explainers, did a lot of e-learning projects, which regrettably I'm slowly seeing a dip in, and I'm going to attribute that to the AI.
Yeah.
The commercial world and the imaging world is a bit more nuanced, whereas some of these long form kind of meat and potato of the industry, companies, I think it just has to be, for a lot of them, just good enough. You know what I mean? And
Right.
these AI voices, regrettably,
That's sad.
are
Yeah.
at the point where they are not good, but good enough. And, if a company's wants to save money, a lot of them are going to choose to do so.
Sure.
That being said, I don't want to discourage any of our listeners who are new VO people. There's a ton of work out there,
Right.
and there's always room for a good, nuanced voice actor, particularly, in the commercial world, in the animation world, and still a lot of companies are hiring. I still do a bunch of e-learning work. I still, do explainer work. So,
Have you had anybody reach out to you saying, we were going to use an AI voice, but we just don't like how it sounds. Can you go ahead and do this? I mean, that's always encouraging to hear.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, I have, and I completely agree. Anytime I see or have someone reach out, it's not often, but people do reach out. Hey, Mike, we tried an AI voice, but the client wasn't happy, and that just warms my heart. I'm like, yep, perfect.
Yeah. So we like to hear.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions about that because I just feel like, saving the buck there, especially when it's employee training. If you don't take it seriously enough to put a human voice to it, then the employee's not going to take it seriously, what you're trying to train them in. That's my opinion. I think a lot of companies and industries are going to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That being said, too, guys, I vow in front of you three fine gentlemen, I will never audition for or put my name in the hat for any AI-related VO jobs, as high-paying as they may be.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel
Well,
the same way.
it appears high, but they're really in the long term, they're super low, super
Right.
cheap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stealing your voice and we talked about it in another program. You lose your right to compete in that industry against your own voice. So if you sell your voice to somebody here, well, you can't do anything of their competitors for live stuff, so it's not a good thing to do. So
Yeah, a lot of
if I could
deceit.
I don't mean to ramble too much, but I just want to mention my production, how I got into the production side of things as well.
Yeah.
No, you're not rambling. This is your episode, man. We want to hear all about you.
Yeah, exactly. We want to know.
Thank you. As I mentioned, I became obsessed with radio imaging, and what I did was I volunteered at a station here just outside of Toronto, and God bless them, they had me. They took me in. I got to be a fly on the wall for 2-3 months there, and just the director of imaging there was just such a welcoming gentleman and just really showed me the ropes of not only producing radio imaging, but producing commercials.
Yeah.
And, the commercials that go on the air daily. Now, I should mention that radio is kind of the Wild West in terms of specs. The television world is a bit more nuanced in terms of, the specs. But I learned so much, from simple things like, where to get my music, what music beds to use, how to remix and chop up music beds, how to create production templates and work with vocal effects and sound effects, where to get those. And, I attribute a lot of my success to that gentleman who just, again, really showed me the ropes. And I would, in my spare time, just go home and just produce radio imaging.
Yeah.
Voice it, produce it. I have a massive library of about 1,000 spots that will never go on air of just me practicing radio imaging.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Alden were talking about this yesterday briefly, but, for all the voice actors listening, you really have to do.
Yeah.
You can read a book, you can, take lessons with your coach, which I absolutely, recommend people do seek out coaching. If I could redo my journey again, I would have sought out coaching a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you have to just create. Same thing with explainers. I used to write, when I had downtime, I would just write explainer videos. How to clean your room. You know what I mean? And just
That's awesome.
and
That's
just
awesome.
practice by creating and doing. And again, I attribute a lot of my success in voiceover to my coaches who, I'm sure we'll talk about coaching later, but to also just doing and not, sitting around waiting for jobs to come and being like, let me, I don't know, just audition, but actually get behind the creative side of things and, write the script, voice it, and, learning by doing.
Yeah.
I agree. I find that I have become better at what I do by helping others too, because I'll hold these little workshops with 4 people and they come in and they're at different levels. Maybe they're brand new, maybe some been doing it a few years, and listening to what they do and how they stumble through a script or how they don't interpret the changes in the script. And I can say, wait, you got to do this and this. And then it makes me pay more attention, as I go back. And I totally agree with the doing. And I feel sorry for Jake and Alden because is his name Alden or Alden? I forget.
Come on.
Alden. It's Alden.
Come on.
It's Alden.
Yeah.
I know. But anyway, I feel sorry for them because on those down periods, they are the victims who get all of my stuff that I'm working on, because I don't have anybody to teach. Nobody
That's
has
part
taught
of the
me.
accountability group.
It
though.
is.
I mean,
Sure,
we signed up for it.
But nobody had. I didn't have anybody to go to and say, "Teach me imaging." I had to listen to it and then try to mimic it and try to figure it out. And then, as Mike did a demo for me, and then I'd listen to what things he did in that demo and how do I reproduce some of that, and I haven't gotten it to where I'm good at it, but it's good enough in a way, kind of like AI, I guess. I hate to say that, but it's good enough to where it's satisfactory that I can build on it and make it better. But as he said, now I've got something to do and work at to get good at it. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a lot of joy from sitting and doing that stuff. So I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
Totally.
I believe in the rule of 10,000, that it takes 10,000 hours of doing anything to become what is considered world class. And even then, 10,000 hours is a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot. And so that's how you get better at stuff, is you just do it.
Yep.
So that's pretty impressive, Michael, 1,000 files that nobody will ever hear just because you practiced it.
Yeah.
But what they do hear is the results of the skills that you gained, for sure. So I do want to talk a little bit more about radio imaging, because that was one of your first entrees into voiceover. And it's one of the things that whet your appetite for that creative side of expressing your voice. What we've heard, and I think it's true, that radio imaging is one of the most difficult niches to break into in voiceover. So how was that journey for you? When did you get your first radio imaging gig, and how did you grow and add stations? Because I think you told me yesterday you have like over 30 some stations or something like that.
Wow. That's
Correct.
what's up.
Yes.
That's super.
Yeah, thank you. I will parrot that notion that radio imaging is difficult to break into. And that is because, specifically more so on a terrestrial station, but once you are the voice of a station, they're typically not making a change until, 5 years, let's say, I don't know, every once in a while, maybe the station goes through an overhaul and they decide, hey, we want to switch the voice. But, once you are the voice of a station, you're there, you're set.
Yeah.
And therein also lies a bit of the beauty of radio imaging as an avenue in voiceover, because as you gentlemen know, we work in a industry that's a bit unreliable at times.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we don't have, those clients that come back, that we can, rely on. And, they do come back, but sporadically, and, we never know when they're going to pop up. Whereas radio imaging, you can bet that every month they're coming back at you with a whole page of, little liners, little snippets, little promos that, they want you to voice. So I encourage people to explore the genre. You don't have to be a production wizard to break into radio imaging. You don't need some crazy, announcer voice either. A lot of the imaging being produced now is conversational, funny, comical, charactery, nuanced. And, I think it probably gets a bad rap of being, an announcery type of genre, and it is to an extent. There's lots of, spots that are, but there is, I tell you, it's like the Wild West in terms of voiceover. You're going to do a whole bunch of different stuff. It's clients you can rely on. And let me tell you how I got my clients and how I recommend people get their clients. Radio imaging first is one of those genres where I think you do need a demo in for that genre. When it comes to like an explainer or an e-learning, I think you can book work based off of your commercial demo. But imaging being the kind of unique unicorn that it is, I think you do, if you really want to market, yourself properly, you do need to, present them with a specific imaging demo.
Mm-hmm.
So, once you have that, it's just a matter of doing what we do, guys, which is sending that thing out, doing direct marketing. And online radio is massive now, right? The terrestrial radio over the air is, obviously still very prominent, but there are tons and tons and tons and tons of online radio stations, people just starting up, and they don't even have an imaging voice or imaging. So you just be creative, jump on Google, type in online radio stations, send that demo out to everybody, and you'll be surprised at, again, how many people maybe don't even have, are not at the point where they've, got their imaging in order.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, very receptive to having someone reach out to them, to be a part of, their station.
Yeah.
And the budget might be, the Wild West when it comes to online radio right now as well. But that's a client you can grow with, start with. And I got one client who, he was a radio guy and he wanted to branch out on his own and start a small radio station. And same thing, I reached out to him. He, with my demo, he got back to me and said, "You're the voice of the station." And now he's built up this radio network where he's got like 12 stations of all different genres that I'm the voice for 3 of them.
Wow.
And I do a ton of casting as well. I do all the casting for all the other voices, do all the imaging, the production, and it's one of my most profitable ventures.
Yeah.
Reaching out to a simple online, who knows how many listeners type of radio station has blossomed into, again, a very profitable venture. And you never know, guys.
Yeah. Have you run into, and this is one thing I'm a part of, I guess is why I ask, where somebody comes up with a format and they will sell that exact same format to a lot of different online stations? Like the one I'm doing right now is Rebel Legends Country. So it's Rebel Legends in Texas, Rebel Legends in Utah, Rebel Legends in, several states. Do you have clients that have something similar to that, or?
I don't. I think you're referring to like a kind of like what I was just talking about, like a network of a bunch of different stations.
Yeah, and I think what they are, and I could be mistaken, is there are some stations that will, for so many hours a day, just buy, they're purchasing to subscribe to that and let it play on their station, like in between their morning and afternoon. So they brand that as Rebel Legends Country, and then they dress it up, for each place. So what I get to do, kind of like what you were saying, I'll get in a bunch of liners for that month, and they're talking about, hey, it's basketball season and blah, 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 and whatever, and it's this, depending on which market it's going in. But the basis of it that they create is the same. They don't have to recreate anything for all 12 stations. All they have to do is change the call letters and maybe a few little things. And it's kind of like multi-branding, and they go to these real small towns where they may have a little morning thing, and they have people come in and get interviewed, and then like from 9 o'clock till 3 in the afternoon, they run this pre-bought or whatever they call it. It runs automatically, and nobody's even at the station from 9 to 3. Pretty cool. I mean, I've seen it, and they do that even here in town. But it amazed me that when I first heard it, that they can just take that and duplicate it and just say, all right, we'll give it to this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. And, all these stations are running this prepaid stuff. I just never knew that went on. It was pretty neat to see.
Yeah. That's cool. That's
amazing.
Cool.
Amazing.
I have, I just want to make a point, because we've mentioned to our listeners, it's been some time, that everything you've done before, because a lot of people come into voiceover later. It's not like they go to college for voiceover and then come right out and they're casting their first jobs. They've had a life before, and each of us have had that experience. And Michael, that's a part of your story too. But it's interesting to see that everything you did before, your university classes in broadcast, your teaching experience, all of that is used in your voiceover. So, for people trying to break into voiceover, let me encourage you that everything you've done before, that can be used. It's like somebody who's an author, like the great authors, you see them, it's like the second half of their life. And because they're calling on all the experiences they've had earlier in life, all the stories, and now those are coming into great fiction books that we get to enjoy. All the experiences you have in work and in play are used in your creation of voiceover. So, it's okay to come in late. Like, I came in pretty late. So I just wanted to make that point in the middle of our interview here.
I think I win that award, though.
Sorry to cut you off.
I think I get the really late award.
Really late award? All right.
Yeah.
Guys, Michael, sorry, if I could just pipe in there. Yeah. I got a great story about that. I got a lady who reached out to me in her 70s who wanted to do a voiceover demo. I was baffled. We did the demo, whatever, I told her, I'm like, we're going to need to do a couple coaching sessions before. She was brand new. We did those. She saw it through, did her demo in her 70s. And she said, I've never had, more fun in my life than doing this. I feel like a teenager again. And sure enough, in 1 year, she's got a national spot on TV. How many ladies in their 70s are doing voiceover? She has virtually no competition.
That's
pretty incredible.
That's
I love
amazing.
that.
That's what I keep hoping.
Yeah.
Well, you're not a lady in your 70s.
Maybe when
maybe
when you're a lady in your 70s, Troy.
I want to be an old man in my 70s before long, so it's coming. Get ready. I want to be the oldest living radio imaging guy. That's my goal.
Well, never mind. I won't go.
Careful.
Okay.
Take a hit list there. I'm just kidding.
Don't let me hang us up on imaging, because I could talk about imaging all day.
Yeah, I grew
such
up
a big part.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up as a kid wanting to be a disc jockey, wanting to be on the radio, and similar to what Mike was saying, I go to school and I find out what they make and the hours they're going to work and all the stuff they really got to do. And you're only on the air for a few hours and you're doing all this other stuff, and you're going to make at least, $18,000 a year back then. And I'm like, no, I think I'll get a business degree. And and then here you come back 40 years later, here's voiceover. You can do it at home. And this is as fun, if not funner, if that's a good word.
Funner. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So when you started, after you kind of had your like moment of, aha, I could do this, you know what I mean? Like, was your first goal to like get set up at home, or were you still using equipment like elsewhere, like a setup elsewhere? Like when did you immediately kind of start thinking about how you could make your own setup at home, or since you were kind of like volunteering, or since you were kind of working at the other place? Like, when did that transition happen where like, I should get a home setup? You know what I mean? Like I should set my own stuff up.
Yeah. So so this is well before I kind of like really sunk my teeth into the genre before I volunteered at the station.
Mm-hmm.
I bought some cheap dynamic microphone, not even a condenser mic, stuffed myself into my childhood bedroom closet and just started, started recording stuff. Terrible sound, like the acoustics, the microphone, like everything was wrong. and sure enough, after I did some research, after I spent time at the station, after I really developed that trained ear,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just throw together a nice studio. I spent time in the closet for damn near 3 years and made a great living out of the closet.
Mm-hmm.
And recorded national spots out of the closet, and have even now I produce, spots that a lot of the times are being recorded out of the closet. It's isolated. It's acoustically, great.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, every single walk-in closet, is a recording studio.
Right there. I am in a closet myself right now.
Yes. And slowly as I, developed and, started to make some money, I built a nice home studio and have a little bit more room to breathe. But, I'll have to send you guys a picture. I have my first kind of DIY VO booth, which is just, a mess.
Yeah.
And, now, I'm sitting in, I'm going to call it a nice home studio that's, treated and spacious and, got all the gadgets and all that good stuff, but it definitely did not happen overnight.
Yeah, you could do a where you started versus where you're at now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
How big is your room? Do you record in the open room? How big is your room?
Yeah, so I'm in a very small bedroom here.
Okay.
So it's not quite an open room.
Uh-huh.
Or like a big bedroom that's, very roomy. It's quite small, and, I think of it as like a big walk-in closet. And I've just got, acoustic panels everywhere. I still have a rack actually of clothing that I keep because in my head, nothing beats the clothes, guys.
It's better than the acoustic curtain. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got panels on the walls. I got a nice rack kind of just in front of me here with like, a ton of my fiance's sweaters and, warm, clothes and yeah. But,
honey, you can't wear that sweater today. I'm recording.
Yes. You got to wear good VO clothes.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a thing.
I love it. You talked a little bit about your coaching demo production. You also do audio presets. You help voiceover artists with that. So for voiceovers listening, Michael is a great resource. But talk a little bit about how you got into the demo side of things. Obviously, you have a great ear for that. At what point in your VO did you decide, hey, I'm going to start offering some demo production for people, and talk about the wide range and how people can get a hold of you?
Yeah. So regarding the demo production, I got to a point in my career where I heard, with respect to all my competition that's out there, I heard what they were doing. I saw what they were charging, and I was appalled.
Uh-huh.
And I knew, and even like, chatting with my mentor, I was like, I could do this better. I wholeheartedly believe I can do this better than what's out there. And again, with respect to a lot of my competition, I think when you pay that premium fee, they're outsourcing the scripting, they're outsourcing the production. Sometimes they're outsourcing the coaching, and everybody's got to eat. Everybody's got to get paid.
Right.
So, they have to charge that, as far as I'm concerned, an absurd amount of money. But I do want to reiterate, guys, that at the same time, while it may seem absurd to people starting in VO, if you're a well-accomplished voice actor who's booking national spots, like, you could pay for that with one spot.
Mm-hmm.
So, for a lot of people who are starting or kind of at the mid-level in VO, it is absolutely way too much. And I don't think it's, I think you should find a demo producer who's offering for sure a more fair rate. But, if some accomplished VO, who's making really, really good money, that they're paying, they're paying it off in one job.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, what I wanted to do and what my kind of niche has been in demo production is charging what I believe is a fair rate for all voice actors, whether you're new, whether you're in your mid-level, or whether you're, even an accomplished voice actor, charging a fair rate and not outsourcing anything. Again, I write the scripts. Typically how my demo process works, I'll just get into that quickly, is I write the scripts, I connect with my client via Zoom. We kind of go over what their niche is, what their strengths are. We develop kind of a game plan. From there, I write custom scripts, all relevant, modern, and client appropriate. And from there, the client and I will connect via Zoom or via whatever. We'll spend typically an hour or 2 hours. There's really no time limit on the session, just ironing out every spot down to the last nuance. Because the last thing I want to have is, for something as important as a demo, A, we never want it to be rushed. And B, I don't want them recording on demo day thinking that, and me throwing curveballs at them. We iron out all the kinks in a coaching session prior to the actual demo recording.
Yeah.
So that way, when it comes to demo day, it's just a matter of laying down the audio. We do a bunch of different takes. We got a session. Again, there's no time limit. There's no rush. We book a time where, we have all the time we need, and we just lay down takes. Again, we know where we want to go, so there's no curveballs. And then once all the audio is recorded, it's just a matter of, then I get to do my thing, full production, mix, master, music, sound effects, vocal tuning. And then it's sent back to them. Something's not sitting well, we fix it. Any revisions needed, we fix it. And I got to tell you guys, I don't want to sound like a salesman here, but I have a lot, my clients are very, very happy with
I can only imagine, dude.
Get for what they pay.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, based on everything you just described there, and I'm not familiar with your rates, but based on how you're talking about them, I mean, that's a real value that maybe you wouldn't consider if you're in that newer to mid-level voice. I mean, you come to expect it after a certain time, especially if you've had a couple of demos made. But if you're just getting in, or if you've been in for a little while and you're looking to upgrade your demos, or maybe you hadn't had a demo yet, just the value in what you've described so far is, invaluable, really. It's just, that's a real deal, and that's something that's needed when you are going to go in for a demo. So. Right. And we're definitely happy to pass your name along to anybody that we know that's looking for something like that. Did I say your demo? Your services. We're happy to pass on your services to anybody that's looking for that. Because again, I think that's just invaluable to oneself if that's what you're needing in your voiceover career.
For sure. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for that.
What is your preference on how people reach out to you?
Typically through email.
Okay.
I do have a website, MichaelKussmannVoices.com.
Nice.
My last name, Kussmann, has 2 N's. It's my kryptonite, MANN.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But it's MichaelKussmannVoices.com. On there, I have my, my business phone, my email address. If you reach out to me via email, I find that's the best way. If anybody wants to consult regarding, if they're in the market for a demo, I'm we can jump on a Zoom call, and yeah, just through email is best. I'm also on Instagram, MichaelKussmannVoices, and a separate account, Voiceover Demo Production. You can DM me on there as well.
Yes.
Really, any platform is good by me.
Cool. And that's one of my goals for 2024 is updating my demo. So I will be getting a hold of you when the time happens for that.
I'm really looking forward to that, Alden.
Yeah.
I imagine you guys are going to make some magic.
Yeah, you've been on my radar for a while. So when Troy mentioned that we were going to get a chance to have you on, I was excited about that. And I hope people reach out to you because
I'm sure they will.
I think that all across the voiceover landscape, there are people who dream about getting in, but just don't start for whatever reason. They watch the YouTube videos, they listen to podcasts, they follow the Facebook groups, but they don't actually go out and, as I love what the Booth Junkie says, go out and record something amazing. They don't get in the booth and just start doing it. And your prices and the services you offer really can help voiceovers at any level. So especially those who are wanting to get into it, I think should check you out. And I hope they do. So,
well, thank you for that. And guys, you guys have already, I didn't know how much pull Troy had in the industry. I got people emailing me saying, hey, I heard about you through Troy Holden. And I'm just like, Troy has been a godsend for me. He's, I don't know.
Here you go.
You know what's funny, Michael? Troy doesn't know how much pull he has in the industry either. Yeah, Troy always talks. I'm so surprised so-and-so reached out to me. He's like, oh, really? With your 1,500 followers on your Facebook group, you're surprised people know who you are? Wow, okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, I just am because
you don't realize it when it's you. I get it.
Yeah, it is. And then the other side of it is, well, if that many people know, how come I'm not doing a lot more business? I don't understand this. Why am I not this? But one has nothing to do with the other.
That, though. You can't just, I mean, there's so many factors that play into that. Right.
Two branches of the same tree.
I've always believed in being a giving person and sharing and being transparent. And I think that's what people see. And that's why they'll listen to what you say. But this, I wouldn't get on here and hawk the services that Mike offers if I didn't truly believe in them and haven't had them myself. I mean, I literally just sent him a file of my own stuff that I just made it up for imaging, and that the demo he put together led to me getting that first job with USA Audio. And then what they started doing, which really helped, was every time they recorded imaging for me, they would send me back the whole package fully produced where I could chop that up and drop it in with it. So I could mix it and say, here's some actual stuff in there too.
That's cool.
And between the two of those things, then I was able to land a management company for imaging. And I haven't booked anything through that yet. I think it'll come. It's just going to take time because there's a lot of marketing that goes on with that.
And you just started.
And I just started with it. Right. But, it's the one genre I love. And that's why I said, watch out. I'll get off on an imaging tangent and there we'll stay because I really, really love it.
I tried recording some radio imaging over the summer and writing the spots, and I guarantee you, no one will ever hear those. Like the 1,000 imaging recordings that Michael has archived somewhere. Nobody will hear those. It's my first try, and it was fun working on it, and I look forward to kind of diving back into that when I get a chance to. Troy and Jake, do you have any more questions for Michael?
Yeah, I mean, he mentioned it earlier, but just to, because I know we're kind of coming near the end here.
Well, we're out of my questions, so.
That's true. No, I didn't know that. I don't know why I said that's true. Just to touch on coaching, because something that we do stress in episodes past where we've talked about when you're getting into voiceover, like coaching is imperative. Did you right away think, oh, I should get a coach? Or were you like, well, I've got a little bit of experience doing this stuff, so maybe it'll translate, and then eventually find, I think I need to get a coach? Or just, being who you are, were you just like, you know what, I need to get a coach before I start doing anything crazy? Like, how did that all work out for you? And then who are some of the coaches, and we don't have to go into super detail, but who are some of the coaches that have kind of helped you along the way? And we can kind of give them a little shout out here.
Yeah, great question. So when I started in my childhood bedroom closet with the dynamic mic, I did everything backwards. I did everything the wrong way.
Sure.
I jumped on voices.com, so excited, thinking I was going to be the next big thing in voiceover, auditioned for everything that was even remotely in my wheelhouse, and heard crickets.
Yep.
Right.
For so long. Not only was my sound completely off, but my performance was atrocious. And let me say this, guys, as somebody who really appreciates good sound quality, I would rather work with a VO artist whose performance is on point, but maybe their booth isn't quite as, tuned up, versus somebody with all the knickknacks, whose performance is not on point. And as one of my VO coaches, Dave Walsh, used to say, story over sound. I started off my career auditioning, speaking in a voice that wasn't even my own, listening to myself, zero connection to the actual story, zero understanding of, what really constitutes authentic human connection and the essence of an actual story. And it wasn't until I sought out coaching from people like, I got to shout out Brad Hyland, who Troy has worked with also.
Yeah, we've all worked with Brad.
All of us.
Yeah, Brad's solid. I was monotone, he took a monotone kid and turned him into a reasonable storyteller, let's say that. I also want to shout out Dave Walsh, who, through his method, which he calls the True Tell, really helped me feel confident to throw my name in the hat for some of the bigger jobs. And we all want to come out of the booth feeling good about what we just did. There's no better feeling than, man, I really feel like, even if I didn't win that job, I really feel like I, did that story justice. I call them all stories. But when it comes to, understanding the essence of a story or a script and understanding, your context within it, that was stuff that never even crossed my mind when I was that young kid in his, bedroom closet, just spewing out words. And again, it wasn't until I saw coaching from some of these industry pros. I'm going to shout out Brad Hyland, Kim Handyside's e-learning, Tom Pinto narration, Dave Walsh commercial, that I really just became a voice actor, emphasis on actor.
Right.
And, as a teacher as well, I felt, called to pass on a lot of what I learned via these great coaches and offer some coaching as well. It's definitely not the bulk of my business, but I have and do really enjoy working with new talent. And yeah, I can't stress enough, if you're a new VO talent, if you want to invest in something, before you get a fancy mic or, whatever else, get coaching and learn how to be an actor.
Bingo. We talk about very similar things, especially in our earlier episodes, just because, like you pointed out, I mean, some people get in this industry and immediately they think, oh, I need the best mic. I need this. I need that. And it's like, you really don't need to start there. You're not necessarily wrong, but you're not there yet. And there are much more important things to do first.
Story over sound, gentlemen. That's coming from an audio engineer. Story over sound.
That's awesome. Yeah, I won't go too much into detail, but I kind of started backwards myself. Now, I did have an acting background. I had a film agent for about 10 years, and nothing ever crazy came from that, but I grew up acting, performing, whether it was in choir or like on stage in plays or musicals, yada, yada, yada. And so my dad had tried out voiceover. He trained with Joe Lesh for a small period of time, and then he told me what he was doing, and I sat there and I was like, I could do that. So that's what I did. I made I did not have the foam. I had literally just old blankets from around the house and like put them up in my closet at the time, and I got on voices.com just like you know what I mean? And then I did have success actually fairly quickly, but I realized I needed coaching if I wanted to do better. So, I mean, that came later for me too. So I'm very much aware of the starting backwards situation as well. But it's cool where you end up, because sometimes I feel like people need to start backwards to realize, oh, I needed to do this. You know what I mean? You know, I really should do this first now, or retrace my steps, so to speak, and try something different. But that's really cool.
Hey guys, I just want to say to all the new VOs listening that voices.com is tricky, because if you start there, it's so easy to get discouraged. You are competing with sharks with, 20 plus years of experience coaching, fancy studios, the whole 9 yards. And at the end of the day, the best audition wins.
Yep.
Right? So don't get discouraged. I'm a big fan of the direct marketing approach in terms of landing, your first couple jobs. And a lot of people don't want to do that work. And it's so easy. Write up a little, template for an email, attach your demo, send it to 5 people a day. It'll take you 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, where I think a lot of new VOs find their first couple jobs, versus trying to compete with some of the big dogs on voices.com. I think it's a platform where, a very small amount of talent are doing the bulk of the work.
Right.
And, there's different tiers of memberships and stuff. And if you have kind of the basic membership and you're just a new VO, you don't have your stuff in order, I don't think voices.com is the place to start.
Right.
You're better off starting on something like Fiverr, Upwork. Better yet, doing what I did, creating your own stuff, and just, even if you want to put it out there on YouTube or something.
Right.
Good points. All good points. Yeah. Yep. And the thing that, and this is an opinion I've said a few times on here, these December sales that they love to run on the pay-to-plays floods the platform. It puts another 100 or more people in there.
Yeah.
They somehow have the time to audition faster than us who are sitting here doing this for a living. I don't know how they get in so fast. And it's not the fact that they're either bad or good. It's the fact that it clogs it up so much sometimes, where there's, 200 auditions sent in on something. They're probably not going to listen to 200. They may listen to 25 or 30, and they're not going to listen very long. So, story over sound for sure right there. But I just think it's a combination of that. And I've also mentioned, Fiverr is not the place to start if you're expecting it to take off running like it did for some of us 3 or 4 years ago. And we got established enough that we have some business still coming from it, and we stay in the algorithm well enough. But I remember when I started, I think, if I remember correctly, there were like 500 new sellers in male voiceover at the time. And you go in there and look now, and there's thousands of new sellers under male voiceover. So it also is very tough. But you got to have, tough skin. You got to have a lot of patience. You got to be the person who wants to persevere and keep going and push. If this is what you want to do, if you believe in it and you love it, do it the right way. Get the coaching, get the training, do the practice, record stuff, read out loud for an hour a day, train your brain and your eyes to get ahead of your mouth, and all those good things. And it can happen. It's not to say that it's so crowded you can't break through, but do it the right way. Really encourage people, take the time, take the steps. You'll have to invest the money. When I started, I don't think I spent $200 up front, maybe, and then I put up a PVC thing, and then the cat kept knocking it over, and then I, moved down in this room, and I was in this little bitty booth, and now I'm in a bigger room, and you can get to that eventually as income comes in, and you can afford to do that, but get the basics, man. Get the education. You don't want a guy cutting on you to do a surgical procedure that did not go to medical school, right? Well, you don't want to
depends on the
VO.
situation. I mean,
Well,
if
what if
it's
you
like
watched a YouTube
emergency,
video,
zombie
Troy?
apocalypse or something.
MacGyver it, you can
Right.
MacGyver me. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can tell the difference. And it's exactly what Mike said. There's a very small percentage of people booking most of that work. And he's right. And
Yeah.
we get our what falls off the table sometimes, and that's okay. As I always look at us as middle class VOs, and we get what we get.
Hey, I want to try something before we go. We've never asked a guest this before, but Michael, before we leave, if there's just one brief thought you could leave our listeners with, what would it be?
Oh man, I absolutely love what Troy just said. All those little nuggets about reading out loud every day.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I just want to parrot what we've been saying, guys. Like, get coaching, create, do, versus watch or read. And as Troy said, an important thing, invest.
Right.
Any business you start, whether it's painting company or a gym, like you have to invest in it. We're actually lucky in voiceover that, if you're starting a gym, you got to go buy a commercial space, then you got to buy thousands of machines and hire staff. We, compared to a lot of startups, have a very small amount to invest. And if you want this to be your business, you have to treat it like a business, and you have to invest in your business.
Bam.
To this day, I will, I'm doing 3 or 4 coaching sessions a year minimum.
Wow.
Right. And yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed this, guys. This is actually my first podcast I've been on. We got to do this
Oh,
again
wow.
sometime.
Well, we are honored, and we will
Wow.
definitely have
Absolutely.
you back. We will definitely
Yeah.
have you back.
Absolutely
This is very
honored.
insightful. So, yeah,
Yep.
Well,
I know we're running out of time, but I do want to get back off of VO because we are humans that have full lives. And I know that, like us, Michael, you're not all work and no play. What do you do when you get outside of the booth?
Right. Great question. Once you do, find a good amount of success in this business, you're going to find yourself working in a room, oftentimes a dark room,
Yep.
by yourself. And us human beings, we crave movement, we crave community.
Yep.
Right. So for me, every day I'm getting up, whether I'm going to the gym or not, I'm going on a nice walk. I'm getting out, I'm moving my body, and community, getting involved in stuff, whether it's church. I play hockey one night a week.
That's awesome.
If anyone didn't know I was Canadian, I play hockey one night a week
That's really cool.
with friends. And
That's awesome.
yeah, so that's what I try to do. I try to, for when you're working from home in these dark rooms, get up and move and, get involved in some sort of community, whatever it may be.
Yep. Cool. Good word.
I think I'm going to rebrand Mike as the nicest guy in VO.
There you go.
That should
Nicest
be his
guy.
new brand. Yeah,
That would fit. That would fit.
Oh,
I've
guys.
enjoyed this. It's been
This
great.
has been
Likewise.
excellent, Michael. I can't wait to work with you again and on my own demo when the time happens, because I'm excited about that. And you've been a great guest, and we are out of questions, but we could probably talk for a lot longer.
Oh,
But
gosh,
we have run out of time, and we don't want to keep our listeners too long, and we don't want to take up all your time. But thank you for being very generous with us. We appreciate it. And that's all we have for another VO podcast with Michael Kussmann. I've been Alden with Jake and Troy. See ya.
Contents of another VO podcast may cause drowsiness, itchy forehead, burning armpits, or headache. Some less-known side effects include mashed toes, sore egos, irritable bowel, or just an old-fashioned case of red ass. Opinions given are not fact but opinion, and names have been changed to protect the 3 idiots who record this podcast.
This has been another VO podcast with Alden, Jake, and Troy. Join us again next week on Spotify, Google, Amazon, Apple, and most all major podcast platforms.